Okay. There we go. Hello, welcome. Just want to say hi before I jump into things. I'm Matt, Game Dev Guide. Hopefully you can hear me. Let's see. We'll just wait for people to let me know. Can you hear me okay? Everything sound good before we sort of dive into everything? This is the first time doing this, so there will probably be some teething problems. And okay, it looks like you can hear me. Cool. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. The general idea is that I want to do some of these streams because there are sometimes some topics that like I just don't have time to make videos about, in terms of they're either like really in depth or I can't quite figure out a full story to tell or build a demo that makes sense, right? And so I figured potentially trying something like this could be a good way for us to do a more relaxed session together and go through some things and just sort of try a new format, really. So hopefully that's something that works, and I guess we'll sort of go through it and see. And so this is kind of the first trial version of this format, where we're just going to kind of explore the UI Toolkit changes in 2023.2. I mentioned this in my previous sort of Unite video. There have been some sort of significant changes that have been added to the toolset that sort of made me realize that it's potentially possible to start working with it. And it's clearly the future that Unity are going in. So I wanted to get familiarized, and the goal really is to learn enough about it so that I can make a more in-depth video about it next year when I guess when 2023 goes live fully, and yeah, just cover the process a bit, because as you know, I do a lot of UI work on the channel, and I figure it would be a cool thing to go through. So let's see what you guys are saying. Hello. Cool video ideas with NPCs, making them dynamic instead of jittery. Yeah. 2023. You mean Unity 6? You know what? So it's really interesting that they haven't quite said whether 2023.3 is going to be Unity 6 or not. Last I heard, the LTS was actually going to be 2023.4, but like their messaging is so all over the place about that it's very unclear to me. It's possible they're going to do a 2023.3 like beta or something, and that's what they meant by that not being Unity 6, and then they're rebranding. But yeah, I'm not sure if 2024 is Unity 6 or 2023.3 is Unity 6, basically. So we'll find that out in the middle of next year, late next year probably. So all right, hope everyone is having a good sort of holiday period. Where is everyone from, by the way? Everyone watching, let's before we sort of dive into everything, let's see what you're all doing here. Will there be a recording of the broadcast on the... Yes, I'll keep the sort of sessions up and see how they do as just normal kind of videos. But yeah. So, oh, people from Liverpool, hello, welcome. Turkey, Chile, wow, you're from all over the place, crazy. Is there a development community around you guys, or is it sort of, do you find you're all sort of working in individual spaces? I don't know how to phrase that, but yeah, is there a good sense of sort of development communities where you guys are from, or is it a bit more remote? Because having, you know, one of the reasons I moved to Vancouver was specifically because of there's a specific sort of game development community here, and I thought opportunities would arise, and thankfully they did. I've mentioned that in the past. So Syria, wow. Canada, hello, fellow person in Canada. Palestine, wow, okay. From Russia, amazing. So, all right. Looks like we have a world tour of people watching. So thank you very much. Those time zones, you're in some incredible time zones, which is, thank you, I guess, for joining. I tried to make this in something that everybody could attend. But obviously, yeah, fully understandable. Me being the full other side of the world to some of you means it's obviously not completely the best timings for things. So some of you say mostly remote. Some are saying that there's a community being formed, growing. And to be honest, the grassroots aspect of it is something that I've always enjoyed. I was living in Brighton before I moved to Canada, and Brighton has such a grassroots kind of game development community in the UK, and I really love that aspect of it. So definitely, if you can get stuck in and put events on and do things. We used to have a game development sort of drinks event once a month, and everyone who worked remotely or in studios or whatever would come to this sort of one pub, and we'd all chat and build. And I think that's one of my favorite things about working in the games industry, definitely, is having that sense of community and family element, I suppose. Yeah. All right, let's, without further ado, let's dive into things. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. I don't know what the delay is like here, so I'm going to imagine it's probably somewhat significant. So I may save some of the questions till the end, and we can go back and review things. But really, I'm just going to go through what I feel has changed significantly in UI Toolkit. So let's switch over. And welcome to me doing UI work for Cabs of Chaos. If you don't know, that's the game I'm working on the side, outside of my full-time job, and it's a competitive driving game, arcade game, where you race to deliver passengers to the final destination in the fastest and most chaotic ways possible. And I'll go more into details about that sometime in the future. Whether it will be in this video, I'm not sure. I'll probably sprinkle in little bits of information about the game, but I've been doing a lot of work on design really now. There was a lot of tooling work that I was doing to sort of proof concept of tools that I wanted to use to build this thing and prove whether I can build it in a reasonable amount of scope. And now I am working to really sort of go into production on the game and get things to a level that I'm happy with. So I have actually, I can probably show you, I have one of the biggest things I wanted to do was make sure that the character is at the showroom is that the game had 4 playable characters. So I'm basically trying to work on a first sort of vertical slice of the game, and from start to finish really just have like 1 level, 4 characters, and generally get an overall feel for the game. So we have sort of 4 playable characters that you'll be able to drive around as, and they'll all have their own little unique personalities and vehicles. We will, yeah, the idea really there is that we're going to move, I'm going to move sort of into productions. And I did a first prototype level. I think that was this one. This might be, no, this was like a really early gray box I did. Wow, okay. Cool. This was just way too big. This was like, I had, as you can see, I kind of got into oh no, I have to build out a whole thing, and it wasn't really well thought out. And this was using some old tooling that I did, which is why it looks so strange. And then I ended up resetting that and built out a, there's a level 1 test is here somewhere. And then instead ended up, oh no, okay, well, that's fun. I do not know why you can't see anything, but all right, well, never mind. Oh, wait, is it just hidden? There we go, it's hidden. There we go. Why was it hidden? What the heck? All right, good job. So, yeah, this was the little prototype level I built, which, as you can see, is very small, but during some initial playtests while prototyping, I got a good feeling for how I wanted to lay things out and what I wanted to do in that regards, and I'm really happy with sort of how I've settled on the general logistics of the game and how I want a level to feel. So the next big thing is working on a level. I'll get to what we're doing today in a minute. I just want to preface everything. And things always happen when you show things to other people. Yes, exactly. Everything. This is also the first time I've had the project on this machine, so it's a fresh install of Unity and a fresh install of the game. So, but yeah, one of the things I learned from this project was, and this is a really good example. This is a nav mesh, and there's a nav mesh link here, and the AI can actually drive and will also jump off the nav mesh like you would as a player, and things like that have really good sort of tense moments. There's another section here which is a sort of similar, moment where you can sort of come and careen off the side here. So this taught me everything I wanted to do, and this is a big thing that I've tried to do on this project, is build out these little I guess gray box areas where which you can see, right? I've got all of these scenes. So there's the character showroom that we were just looking at a minute ago, and the there's other things. What is the joint? I don't know. Oh, this was a really early prototype of me testing the physics of the vehicle, I think. I've got an opponent AI room that I put together. So it's just like lots of different scenes specially built to build out, like to work on different mechanics for the game. And then now I'm in that point where I'm trying to put them all together. So I think I have one final test here, which is one of the most recent ones, which is, but maybe not. Maybe I didn't put it together, question mark. There should be. Maybe not. There's a destruction test for, yeah, all the boxes and driving through those. I don't know if there is a vehicle. Yeah, okay, I can show you this. Let's see if this works, actually. This is a good time. Now we'll get a bunch of errors, but yeah, so this was really me just testing. Oh man, the motion blur is really, oh, that's horrible. Oof. Okay, yeah, good job. All right. So let's turn off the motion blur on that volume profile and pretend like that never happened. So anyway, there's a bunch of scenes, test scenes and demo scenes that I've put together for different things that I've been trying to try. This was just a pickup and drop off test that I did to test out the mechanics. Everything, by the way, is work in progress, all the visuals and stuff. So things will change as I move forward with the project. But yeah, you get it. Hopefully you get a feeling for how I've put this project together. So the point really is that I've got all of the little pieces now together, and I've proved a lot of the questions that I had. And so I'm really just trying to flesh out a, yeah, like I said, a vertical slice, first playable, whatever you want to call it. And for me, the cool thing about this is what I realized is I can kind of build most of the game pretty easily. And then a lot of the, like, to get to a feature complete level. And then from that point, it's then just content work. So my current plan is to, I'll come back to camera for a minute. My current plan is to build out ultimately all of the interface to the best I can before I, if I need to add all features, but basically make the game feature complete and then just work on content, because ultimately I just need a first level and my 4 characters, and I can prove out the majority of the game. And then from that point, it is just more level design and more character creation and, additional content here and there, maybe some extra things that you can do in levels, maybe a couple of different mini games or something. But yeah, so that's kind of my focus really over the next year, I'm going to guess, because, having a full-time job is tricky to fit all this stuff in as well, but and make videos for the channel. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. So what I have been doing is figuring out what I want the interface to feel like. And, this was triggered by me going to Unite and thinking about the UI Toolkit pipeline and how that's going to change moving forward. So I just wanted to show you essentially what I've got planned. I've been working on this over the past couple of days. And so here is ultimately what I want the splash screen to look like. This is all really early work in progress. A general feeling for what the UI, it's like the base menus might look like, and mode selection, that kind of thing. And then like a map selection, the overall interface for the project, for like the game world when you're playing, and yeah, like a basic character select screen. So just really trying to figure out all of these pieces and break it all down into elements. And so what I have been working on is then this first like splash screen. And there are some challenges moving between UI, general Unity UI, and UI Toolkit. And I think it's not fully there yet, but it looks like it's heading in the right direction. And I think that's important. So thankfully, you can have both of them at the same time, but I don't know if you can see this. Like, there's some weird intricacies with some of these assets, and so I'll need to tune some of the assets a bit better than I currently have them. But yeah, let's dive into looking at some of these changes. In what render mode do you have the canvas? So with UI Toolkit, the canvas doesn't exist. You now have this new UI document element over here, which is just a component that you can have, and that determines rendering the UI Toolkit panel. I don't know what they call them. The UI document, the visuals tree asset. There you go. And that's controlled by a set of panel settings, which is very similar to the canvas settings from what I can tell. And you can choose like where things go. So you can actually render UI Toolkit stuff on like render textures and then render those in old Unity UI if you wanted to, in theory. Let me check this out. I can edit things. Yeah, and you can set like Atlas settings and the way that it clears on the camera and how you overlay things. There's like runtime themes, which we'll go into in a moment. But yeah, so ultimately that's how it works. And you make a document. Where are we? Screens here, title screen. Okay, so you make a UXML document, which can either be opened in code or opened in the UI builder, which is here and looks terrible right now. There we go. Okay. So let me actually quickly just show you what this looks like in play mode first. And there might be some music, so I don't know how loud this is going to be. Let me know if you can hear the music, by the way. But the big challenge with this stuff is to do things like this is really hard to do. Like the moving elements, don't worry about these weird blurry lines. I'm aware of those. I need to fix those. But the like getting stuff to move in UI Toolkit is not the easiest thing in the world, especially if you want to move constantly. And we'll dive into that in a minute. But yeah, okay, cool. You can hear the music. Is it too loud or is it like a decent volume? It looks like it's quite loud, so I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. I moved away from it. It's just a little too much. Yeah, okay, cool. I've turned it down. I'll turn it down a little bit so it's more in the background. That should maybe be better. Anyway, it's for all placeholder stuff right now. So I'll mute it for now, but yeah, that's kind of a feeling of where I'm trying to go with this. And the weird thing about getting things to move around in UI Toolkit is, okay, so primer for UI Toolkit is it's basically CSS. Like that's it. It's you're ultimately doing HTML document design. Let me open up Visual Studio and we can have a look at the project. UI Builder. The weird / cool thing about Unity 23 is that it now has these like actual windows. Didn't exist in Unity before, so I'm trying to get used to them, and I'm not used to them. Like this strange overlay that Unity have now. Okay, so can I edit this? Not in. Can I go edit script? Is there an easy way to do? I don't know. Looks like there isn't. Okay, I'm gonna have to open a different script and then open that. Cool. That's good. Yeah. All right. Open. Yeah, that'll do. Will that do? Does that do what I want it to do? That does do what I want it to do. Okay, cool. Yeah, so just while this opens. So right now, yeah, I'm using this project as an exploration into UI Toolkit, and I'm determined because it's going to be the way that Unity move forward. So I think it's important to figure it out and know where they're going with things. But yeah, it has challenges. There are some things I like about it. Okay, so like one of the key aspects of Unity's Canvas UI, IM GUI, whatever you want to call it, is that if you're working on a team and somebody wants to edit how the general thing looks or functions, you have to have that thing checked out, and nobody can make any changes until that's checked back in, right? If you're doing team stuff, if you're on your own, ignore everything I say because I guess it doesn't really matter. But the that can cause some problems, especially if you want people to be designing and also making like code changes at the same time, right? Because you need to check that prefab out or the asset or whatever to add components and do that while somebody's also trying to change visual elements. And because it's all component based, you have this sort of horrible hierarchy. And with UI Toolkit, because everything is essentially text files, you don't have that problem because you can merge. And that honestly was the one biggest selling point for me on actually thinking about UI Toolkit in a positive light after a while. And next week we'll go into more details about how long I've been actually dealing with UI Toolkit, because I've been doing stuff in the editor with GraphView, and that is based off of the editor UI Toolkit stuff, and I fell in love with it there just because it's that is all stuff I've handled in code rather than doing this UI builder workflow stuff. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting positive and sort of something that really made me think about UI Toolkit in a different light, that the fact that you can merge these data elements together. So let me show you what this looks like. I can get it working. This one, none of my, there we go. So what's it called? It's title screen. So, else. Okay. So this is what UI looks like in UI Toolkit. It is a glorified XML document, and then you have a I guess it's called cabs default style. Yeah. And then this is what the styling looks like. It is, so if you're familiar with web dev, you kind of know what you're doing. And like I said, it has pros and cons, because it has all of the cons that web dev has when it comes to like animation and everything with that. But it does mean that you can do micro adjustments to how things look across the board. And that is another powerful thing that UI Toolkit can do. So what I'm going to try and do today is actually define a button type and define like that as a visual component that I can use everywhere in the game. Because as I showed you in the mockups, this like button type, I just want to work across. And I've actually already done this with this text, and I'll show you that first. But this sort of general look and style, I want to define as a button that I can use. And then because of the way that UI Toolkit works, if I do need to make any changes, I can make some changes in this USS file and it will propagate, or in the XML files, it will propagate. And that is a powerful set of tools that we haven't really had in the past, apart from prefabs or like scriptable object workflows, and it's really clunky. So I can see where they're going with it. And in general, I think they're heading in the right direction. And I think in the next few iterations, based on their roadmap, we will get some, which I think we'll look at the end after we've sort of reviewed everything. But the general consensus for me is that I think the changes that they've made in 2023 have made some significant improvements for me to want to use it properly. And I think that's where we'll start in a moment, because I want to do some comparisons between how you previously had to do things and what you can do now to make elements work. So that's where we'll move into. Yeah, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yeah, so it's basically it's XML, CSS, and C# is ultimately how you get things doing. It's appealing to developers, not much designers. Yeah, so even for developers, it takes 10 times longer than traditional UI system to make the same thing. It's not helpful. I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think the UI builders makes things easier for certain people, but for me working in a team, I think the fact that if you're familiar with CSS, that opens up, which, you know, there are a lot of web designers out there, so that opens up the pool for people that could work on this stuff. And like I said, I mean, some of you may have way more experience working with this than I do, but there's definitely an element of, yes, you're still going to need to do some tooling and component-based behaviors and stuff to get this to function the way that you want. and it's a little bit more heavy-handed. But like I said, they have been making some strides in improving this. So we're just exploring, and I will have a fully realized set of comments, I think, in a future video where I can write a script and do the full comparisons visually. So like I said, this is us just kind of exploring things, having some conversations. Making a complex UI with the old system was horrible. Stuff just went inside. And yeah, inside out and completely bonkers. Yes, sorry, I was trying to read a thing, but there's like my reaction thing is in the way. Yeah, so I think it really just depends on your disposition as to what you want to do. Moving to a CSS style is something that you kind of have to, if you can kind of accept it. Like there are a lot of pros, right? And I've already said the one thing about like being able to merge styling. Somebody can just edit the style in a text box, and two people can be adding styles and like changes to styles at the same time, and they can merge it and it will just work. And that is like, you're working on a team and you're dealing with UI, and across a huge project, that is a significant, like there is a reason that the majority of UI systems by AAA studios are pretty much XML. Like I think Coherent UI is one of the biggest players in the space for specifically Unity games as well. And that's all CSS based. I know a lot of people have used that. The game I worked on in an Unreal game was also using Coherent UI too. So a lot of studios end up going down this kind of route. So I can completely understand why Unity have gone this way. Yeah, the real key here is definitely being able to just add these like small components of stylings to objects to sort of change how they look at any given time. And you can take a thing and be like, okay, no, but add this little piece of style to it because it has this I guess they're modifiers or mutators, I suppose. And thinking about it that way is an interesting set of like tools that you have now. But it 100% is a paradigm shift, and it is totally going to be dependent on the project that you're working on, right? So for me, just to kind of stay relevant and have things to talk about, I'm exploring this, and I think it's important, especially if you do want to work with a higher pool of people, you open up more access for this. So I think that's important. Designing our software is extremely webby, so having a system that's more web-like is going to be much easier to respond to the UX teams. Yeah, I think it's, like I said, it's just totally going to be dependent on what you're doing. So, it's pros and cons. And like, if you're working on your own, some of these things you're never going to run into as problems. But if you've worked on teams before, you will run into a ton of problems that you just have to deal with like Unity's prefab system and stuff. So your mileage may vary, I think, is the best way to do this. So, okay, I'm going to stop chatting now and let's actually like dive into something I wanted to do today. Yeah, so here's a good example of what we have to do. So you saw all that stuff was like scrolling before, and to do this, you have to kind of take advantage. You have to manipulate these class lists. Give me 1 second. Okay. So one of the things I have here is a style called scroll checkers, and all that does is enable the transition animation for the translate property, and it lasts 30 seconds. And so when the game starts, where is the, so go here, there, title screen control. We're going to be building out a component, so I'll go into more details about what the C# like controls are actually doing shortly. But just for now, what we do is we fetch everything, so we get a reference to all of their elements, and then once the game starts, we run a coroutine and just loop adding classes and removing classes and looping that. And I don't know how I feel about it as a way to animate, but it's exactly the same thing you have to do in JavaScript if you are doing HTML sort of animations. So like, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this, and I really hope that they build in a better animation toolkit they have got plans to do some improvements to animations, but right now this is clunky to just like have some stuff scroll across the screen. It's pretty heavy-handed. So, and I'm not a big, when you could just like tween before. It's I mean, in theory you could write a tweener for that specific style property, right? Like you could grab the you could do like m.style and then translate, I think, or translate transformation, yeah, translate, I think, and dot value, and then you could tween that value inherent like inside of code. So it's kind of there, but that's not the way you like inline animation and inline styling and stuff is not recommended, because then you have a bunch of things doing all these inlining things and overriding all of these class definitions. So yeah, you can actually catch the end of the class transition, swap classes at the end of the transition. Yeah, I did see some stuff into that. I haven't looked fully into that yet, but it's an interesting way of doing things, and I'll look more into the swapping classes at the end of the transition and timing things. There probably is, there's like schedules and stuff inside. Like the visual element workflow is actually really interesting, and if you did just want to code UI, this is kind of thing I like about it. Like if you just purely want to code UI and code styles and stuff, you can do everything in C#. You like never have to touch UXML, and you almost never have to touch USS either. You don't necessarily have to have this, and we'll go into that next week, because all of the graph view stuff that I've done in the past, I've not dealt with UXML. I've done some USS stuff just because it's easier to create like properties that are shared among things in that, but I still do a lot of inline styling for editor tools and things like that too. So we'll cover an alternative workflow. This is the sort of runtime workflow today that I'm playing around with, and then I think next week we'll do here's my current editor workflow for visual elements in editor that is purely code based. So yeah, all right, so as you can see, you have to add this, scroll checkers, and then if I add checker target, I think checker small target position A to here, that'll start to move. It's cool that you can preview it in the UI builder window. I like that, and when we're talking about sort of designers and stuff, I think it's really cool that designers are going to be able to do stuff like that and build out these behaviors just from classes, because then a programmer can be working on something else. The designer can be like, hey, here's my classes, here's the flow of classes that I want in this order so that this behavior happens, and then the programmer can just implement that basically. So I think that's a huge, as somebody who has previously had to do a lot of work on this sort of stuff, I think that's like a really big change, and it is a nice sort of inherent native workflow to this system. Look at it go back. So yeah, if I kill this, it then just snaps back into place. But excuse me. So yeah, anyway, one of the things that I've got here is a custom text element that I've just built. I did this the other day, and what I actually want to do is, which we're going to do today, is convert this button element into a full component that we can just put anywhere in our project. So these are the default sort of Unity components, and as we all know, they are useless in a full game, and you almost definitely create your own like prefab variants with 7 of these different elements combined together. So we're kind of going to do that today. And so this is what I call a shadow label, and it is basically a label inside of a label, because the outlining feature in here isn't great. And so I figured out a way to get sort of outer strokes using and sort of SDF hack that I did, which I'm not going to go too far into, but ultimately I was able to manipulate the text elements that way. I think I set the styles up here. But yeah, so the text is shared between both of these, and so I wanted a root component that meant that I could change the label, and it just works. And so now I can just put this shadow label everywhere I want this kind of text format, which, as I said, is, as we saw in my design, is kind of everywhere. Like it's gonna be all over the place. So I wanted a component that could easily do that. And yeah, so that's the need for this little shadow label component. And so I'm probably going to create, I don't know, we can name it. We're going to name a button today. But yeah, I want this, probably this button container element, because that's the whole thing. That's these little dots here. You can see it's the sort of backdrop here. So yeah, I mean, look, I will say the thing I do like about the UI Toolkit workflow and this UI Builder panel is you get a lot of control functionality built into this system. And I think it's neat, right? That you can just come in here and like make some changes, see how they look, and then you can choose to revert them, or you can save them into a class and then be like, okay, well, I don't need that for this, but this is a class I can use in the future. So it's got a lot of sort of functionality. So let me show you how you would do that. So I've got a bunch of changes here. The visibility one I actually don't need, like that should not be, but there's some settings here that I've changed based off of the default, and so I need to save this into a class so that it's sort of stored as that, right, for this sort of backdrop element. So what I'm going to do is I will create a thing called button backdrop. And then if I hit extract inline styles to new class, that has now added all those changes I've made in the editor to this class here, which if we look over here, should have updated the style sheet. Maybe not. I need to save it. Okay, if I save it and then I'm here, it should now be, there we go. So it's created that USS for me, right? Which, having a what you see is what you get editor, like there's some issues with this that I've dealt with, and actually in 2022 it had all sorts of problems, and so if you're using 2022, I don't recommend using this at all, because like there are some problems, and we'll go into that in a minute when we talk about creating custom controls. But I do really like that you can make changes and then be like, okay, now save those as ultimately a style prefab, and then you can apply that sort of later down the line. So, you know, and then if I want to get rid of it, I can just get rid of it and it's gone, right? That element has now just fully gone, and I can put it back and it's there. And like that's cool. It's good. Like that saves time. That really does save some time. So do you think one should use UI Toolkit right now or wait a little longer? Look, I mean, it depends where you are in your project, right? Like if you're just starting and you want to explore it, I think it's worth exploring. I think depending on the complexity of the UI, that's going to make a difference. I don't know how performant it is yet. I'll find that out in the future, and I'm sure I'll report on it. I know they've made some performance improvements recently, but we'll see moving forward how it goes. It seems fine so far, and like it depends how demanding and your UI is. I think the one thing to keep in mind is that it's retained mode. So it will only kind of change and interact with things through events. And maybe we can look into doing that today. That's probably something we deal with next week. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to go over getting buttons to work and stuff. I think we'll do some state specific changes if we have some time today. But yeah, we'll go into it a bit more. And look, I may do more of these in the future. I'm working on this game in my spare time now. So if you guys like this kind of thing, let me know. And we can do more in the future. So, but I will be doing a video on UI Toolkit, and it'll go in more depth, because I'm trying to review this, and I'm working on this version to sort of build a, I have to familiarize myself with things and understand the pros and cons so I can make a video about it for you guys. I don't just sort of make a video out of the blue, and sometimes I do, but I'm spending a lot of time doing research to make that video. But I like to have a few series of things that I want to explore and talk about beforehand. And that's kind of why I did this today, is because it's going to help me come up with those thoughts that I want to go through. But really, I've just been looking over it, and I wanted to share it because I think it's an interesting topic. So, right, let's talk about building this button out. So I have this button container, and it's going to have these selection of elements. I've now got classes that I can apply to them. I think I just need to apply a class to this one, because what we're going to do is we're basically going to convert all of this into what I have currently as my shadow label component. We're just going to make a C# script that ultimately builds out the XML structure for this single button element, right? So we should then be able to, and I haven't tested if I can do, yeah, we should then be able to put them together, right? Like that. So that's kind of what we want to do. So we can just eventually get one, grab it, drag and drop it, and it will just look like that, right? And I also want to have the label as a property that can just be set on the root of the button container, because I think that's an important feature to have. If we really have time, I want to figure out how to bind that text, because one of the biggest changes to 2023 UI Toolkit is that the binding system is far, as you can see here, their binding system is, this exists now and it's all in the editor, and previously it wasn't, and it sucked, and you had to do a whole bunch of work, bind stuff and make changes based on data in the project. So let's move on. I've been talking a lot. I hope this is good and you follow along. Why didn't you switch to Unreal after the Unity changes? You know what I did? I spent some time. I think I spoke about this at the end of my last video. I'll get into that at the end of this. We can talk about it, and I'll make a note to talk about that because it is an important question. Ultimately, I did explore it, and I just figured that I'm going to spend a lot more time doing work in Unreal than I could just spend, like, the amount of time I could finish my game in the amount of time it would make to just like get back up to speed with Unreal. And so I'd rather finish my game first potentially and then maybe move on, but we can talk about that in the future. I'll do a little Q&A at the end of this before we finish for the session. So we'll probably go for another hour or so, I think, and then do a little Q&A, and then we'll end the stream just after that. So right, let's build out our button containers. So firstly, let's build this into a style. So we'll call this custom button. I don't know, like shadow button. Yeah, let's call it shadow button. Stick with the shadow label nomenclature. We'll call it shadow button, and then extract inline styles to new class. Oh, okay. So we now have our visuals that we can apply in C# to get it to look exactly how we want. So what we'll then do is go into the project, and yeah, so I noticed one of the really cool things is I can do some comparisons, because this tab button and this tab view comes with the shader graph package, and it's using the code framework from the 2022 version of UI Toolkit, and it is a nightmare, and I will show you exactly how it's a nightmare. So let's actually, I mean, I think you can look in the documentation actually, because I did this the other day. We can look at the documentation and go through that too if we need to. So, but I think I can just show you. Right. Okay. Let's go to the project here and make a new component. So we'll create a C# script. I apologize for my keyboard. It's a clacky keyboard. So shadow button. You're going to get some clicks probably. Oh, my coffee is cold. How do you drink coffee? If you drink coffee, let me know. Would you drink coffee when it goes cold? It's like lukewarm cold right now. Yeah, it's not great. Ooh. Oh. I'm not a fan of iced coffee, so I don't enjoy when coffee goes room temperature. It should be hot. Anyway, right. But yeah, you know, I actually should have put it in. I have a Fellows thermos that I got from Unity actually at GDC, and it's really good, and I don't know why I haven't been using it recently. But I am best kind is lukewarm. No, that's criminal. That is absolutely criminal. My God. Wow. Lukewarm. Oh man, some of you just want to be contrarians, huh? Classic. All right. So as you can see here, the structure for building out a label, that label that I had, Close all tabs for now. Oh no, I meant to close everything else. All right, well, let's open that back up. Shadow button. Well, let's put these side by side. And so the workflow for building out a component in 23 is actually really quite good. And I mean, it's one of those things with Unity where like when even a small improvement happens, you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, because we all have Stockholm syndrome. But I think they made, this was another reason I wanted to cover this, is because at the talk, I was like, oh no, this is good. This is good. So let's add these in here, and it should be a partial class, and this should be a UXML element. Now, this thing is awesome. This attribute is amazing. So if we go here and we go, I think it's called a tabbed view, and I have to look in packages. There we go. All right, so let's have a look at the C# script for what you had to do in 2022. So to get this, ultimately now you can build out your C# script, use attributes, and the UXML will be made for you, and the or implied for you, and all of the functionality inside of UI Builder will also be built for you based off of just these attributes over here, right? Previously though, you had to write a bunch of boilerplate code. You had to write this just to say that you could use it in UI Builder. You had to add additional functionality, and I'm not sure if it's in this script specifically, but you had to load the style in as well. Yeah, no, this is it. You had to load the style in, although we might, no, that should be fine. And you had to have some, I wonder if the other one has similar to tab button. There we go. I'm curious now. I haven't had a look at this. Oh, there's two of them. Hey, that's cool. Oh, that's plastic. Huh. Yeah, there you go. UXML traits. That's what I wanted to have a look at. Okay. So you also then had to, what this UXML attribute is doing, you had to write here and write a bunch of boilerplate about like expose this specific property in the UI Builder, and then run through this whenever things change in the UI Builder, and then make the changes. And the names here had to match the names in the C# class. Oh, and it's not good. It's really bad. So yeah, so some of you in the chat are recognizing this change and how much better it is. These attributes save, and you know, it's still kind of a little bit boilerplatey, but ultimately you have to write all this stuff, and it's really annoying and funky, but you also still had to kind of design the XML as well, or you had to write out the XML structure in here yourself, and you just had to write a whole bunch of boilerplate. So that's now gone. But yeah, so you would you'd have to design this separate UXML document. Oh no, it's going to try cancel. I don't want to open it in UI, so never mind. I might be able to open it in here. I really wish they had a way to open. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay. So you had to define a UXML document as well anyway, and then I think they had to be named the same or something for it to work. It was just not fun. So that's gone, as far as I can tell. That's gone, and now you just use this UXML element to say, hey, I think you have to define this as a partial class. I think that's the only like trick, but yeah, it can just be a normal visual element, which is really good too, because if you're doing stuff in you want to create like runtime elements and things, you also had to do some funky stuff before, whereas now I think you can just instance the class like this. And so I really appreciate that that's how it's structured. So that's the biggest that's kind of the biggest change for me, and the biggest thing that made me go, okay, I think this is doable now, because previously you had to do a lot of that stuff. Unless you're doing the entire thing structured in code and you're doing UI based code generation, and in that side of things, then it's irrelevant. And like I said, we'll talk about that next week when we do graph view stuff, because that's probably how I'm going to build things out, because that's the way I'm familiar with it. And it's a very different workflow. But if you do want to rely on these like component-based things, you moving to this attribute-based structure is, as far as I'm concerned, very, very good. Especially because you can basically say, hey, this is what I want you to expose in the builder editor, and this is how I want it to function when it changes. The set thing just adds that functionality, which is great. Excuse me. So what we want to do then is add in all of these elements. So the button container will be the root component. So we want to add a class to it called shadow button. So let's start there. This may go horribly wrong, by the way. This is the first time I've tried to do it bigger than just a single element, but I feel like I learned how to do it over here. So can you guys see this okay? Or should I realize that code, I guess I'll zoom the code in so it's easier to see on the screen. I hadn't really considered that, but is that better? That's probably better, right? At 160, 161, that's annoying. Why would you go to, oh, there we go. Okay, because it was, what, 120, then 132%. I'm just using the scroll wheel, and then 145, and then 160. Those are odd steps. Okay, cool. You do you, Visual Studio. Yeah, cool, that's better. Okay, sorry about that. I should have thought about that. Again, live, I've learned my lesson. All right, so we'll go public, and then what do we want? We want let's define the button first. So we'll go shadow button, and then in here, we will go add to class list. And what was the name of it? Other side of things that I do quite like is you can just get the, oops. Tabs default style, there we go. You can just go grab them. Did I not save it? Oh, I didn't save it again. Shadow button, save. There we go. Okay, now shadow button should be here. There it is. Okay, cool. So shadow button, so we'll add that to the class list. And that should give us the start of what we want. So we should, in theory, now see this appear as an object in our list. Yes, okay, cool. That is the one thing I've noticed that is different, is it the preview. This used to show a preview of that element when you hovered over it, but that doesn't work anymore with the custom controls. I guess it works. Yeah, it kind of works. That's broken. That's very broken. They need to fix that. That should show a preview. Maybe because I haven't added a style or something. I don't know. In the definition, I'll look into that. It's not a big deal, but it's just something I noticed. I think if you have one saved as a template and you hover over it, it will show you how it looks. But yeah, okay. So, and then inside of there, we want a visual. I think we'll just add a visual element and call it selector dots. Okay. So I'll do it properly, and we'll give everything a property. So visual element, shadow dots, I guess. Is that what I called them? Selector dots. That's what I called them. Right. Selector dots equals new visual element. Can you selector dots dot name and select dots to class list? It's just select dots, right? Okay, and then add that. And so you see, we can just slowly build out our UI element in code, right? So if you wanted to just define a panel, you could do it this way, and you make it a visual element and you just add that as the root, because no screen. controller. Let me show you the controller. You could very easily just have a mono behavior element that just fetches a visual tree like this, and you could just add. So like I could just root dot add shadow button, and let's say I should be able to, maybe not. Oh, I probably have to import the class. Maybe not. Huh. Okay. I guess not. Maybe because it's partial. Maybe that's why. Okay, so that doesn't work the same way that it used to. All right, that makes sense, I suppose. We're learning things. This is what this stream is for. Okay, so I guess you can't do that. But anyway, my point really is that if you did want to build out your UI, you could add a button at least, right? Like you can add a button and you can add, you know, a label or whatever. And so you can just code your UI if you want, right? And it's fully capable of doing that if that's how you like to do it. And you kind of have a little bit more control there, especially because of the style system, that you wouldn't have the same level of control over if you were doing this with UGUI or IMGUI. And so yeah, maybe I do have an assembly definition or something new. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. My point was really just that you can build stuff out. So it's fine. Okay, so we'll add selected dot. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm gonna open up and accidentally start playing music. That's how you get a stream banned on YouTube, because YouTube hates anything that is not yours. Okay, so back in the UI builder, here we are. Selected dots, button backdrop. So that's the next thing. That's also just a visual element. Let's do that. Visual element, button backdrop. Just do the same thing. Button backdrop. One of the other reasons I will say I could not stand working in Unreal is that just like IntelliSense and just C++ sucks. I cannot. I don't. Whatever. It's fine. But like the C++ Unreal Engine workflow is terrible, and there are some things that I just don't want to do in Blueprint because once you get to a certain scale of things, you're just dealing with these nightmare spaghetti messes. And yeah, I just couldn't get on with it. The fact that you had to use like Visual Assist or Rider, or you had to pay for something, you know, per year just to be able to edit code in C++, I was not fond of it at all. So I really like C#. I really do, and it's really hard to move away from C# when you like how nice C# is and how well integrated it is into Visual Studio. After using it for however many years, like I can write C++, it's fine. It's just that I realize how much I rely on being able to type very quickly because of IntelliSense auto suggestion things, and it's good. I'm pretty sure that Microsoft have stuff built into like understanding your programming patterns to provide you the right. Maybe this is maybe completely made up on the spot here. It's just cool. But like it gets used to how you type, and so it's suggesting things based on what you've been doing. So even CryEngine support. Unreal Engine is worse than C++ because of their macros. Yeah, exactly. Lua or C# into the engine. I completely agree. I've read, I think it's in the roadmap. I think they're looking into better hot reloading. Although there is a hot reload plugin you can get now. So excuse me. It is possible. So yeah. But yeah, I can't, like, that was one of the biggest things is I was just spending so long getting code to work. And then every time you do write code, you have to recompile the project. And that takes, like, depending on what you're doing, it takes a while. But the biggest thing for me was there's just no way to I said I'd talk about this later, but for what I want to do, there's just no way to make any visual changes to, or it's really difficult to make visual changes to Unreal without decompiling the entire engine, building a brand new render model, and then building it again. So like the specific look that I have for my scenes and the lighting model is totally custom. And I didn't realize actually just how good, which is weird because it's kind of a given, but like the material system in Unity running from shader files and like that just defining how your game looks is great. And that doesn't exist in Unreal. You have to use their lighting model unless you decompile everything and do it all in C++. Like the concept of a shader doesn't exist in the same way that you have in Unity. So like that was kind of one of the big like, oh no, this kind of sucks that you're just stuck in PBR. And so for somebody who's not making a PBR based game, like you have to do a lot of hacks to stylize it, or you do source and then we're back into C++ land sucking. So I did a lot of hacks to try and get some of these sort of shading styles, but like this isn't my, this is a custom lighting model that I've built into my shaders, and I can make changes to it very quickly and very easily. And like, yeah, that just doesn't exist in the same way in Unreal. So, that's why Unreal and everything looks like it's made in Unreal, because that's the one thing you can get Unreal games to look like, which like if that's what you want your game to look like, then fine, and it's great and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous, but that's not the aesthetic I'm going for. So probably, and this is the frustrating part, is that I think Godot is probably the alternative, but the Godot is not a commercial alternative right now. Excuse me, and I spoke about this in my previous video. So rock and a hard place, really. Anyway, back to building out our button. Had to pass this. We will get some stuff done in this stream. Button backdrop. So basically what we want to do is build this element out, and then I just want to drag and drop it in and it like work, and that would be very cool. So I think we then need to build our button element. So that's cool. So that can actually just be a button, because we're going to need to support functionality for it. Button equals new button, and that is just cool. That's just called button. I just called it button. Go me. Name. And I didn't add any classes to that, did I? No. And then we add a shadow label inside of the button. Okay, cool. So, oh, I didn't add the button backdrop. Add button, and yeah, I didn't style it. And then we add a shadow button, and the shadow button has all the controls it needs, but a shadow label. But we will create, I'll just call it label, because we will want to change that with the text property. We're basically going to copy this into, to be honest, I should just do this right now, because we need that functionality. So let's just copy this and pop it in here. And so this is basically how you're going to expose. Oh yeah, well, all right. Shadow label it is. Right, so shadow label equals new shadow label, and then we add that to the button. Button.add shadow label. All right, cool. I think that's everything we needed to do. And then in here, we just, when we set the label, we instead just set the shadow label to value order. I think that will do what we want it to do. I haven't tried like integrate like nesting to UXML attribute functionalities, but I would imagine that does what we want it to do. So As a web developer, although I work mostly on backend, I welcome our new UI Toolkit overlords. Yeah, I've spoken about this over the video, and I think if you missed anything, feel free to go back and watch when the stream's over. But yeah, I can understand. I really can understand the direction that they're going, and I do think it's the right choice, just given how the industry operates and how UI functions in most other studios, from what I'm aware of. There are like Scaleform was one of the industry standards for a really long time, and it's the same thing. It's just this like external. I think it was based on Flash, if I remember, but that was like the industry dominator. But it was slow, if I recall, which is why everybody hated it. It's the same kind of thing. There's just this like third-party UI pipelines that studios used, and most have ended up in this web dev functional space. So. Right, like I said, okay, so does that mean our shadow button is done? Do we now have a shadow button that we can just add like this? Let's find out. Oh, nearly. What did we miss? We missed something. Oh no. Ah. Did I add some custom controls? I think I added some custom I did. I added some custom. Just that? That doesn't make sense. Did I add some custom behavior there? No. Shadow button. This might be where we find some bugs. That's the whole point of this. Oh, weird. Okay. Wait. So if I hide the container. Oh no, this is just. Oh. Did I just forget to add an element into. Well, let's see if we can. The position mode. Let's play Spot the Difference. Why do those two behave? Did I misspell something? Button backdrop. No. Dead order, perhaps. No, I think I have just missed something. Is it that? No. It really is just a game of Spot the Difference right now. I'm pretty sure. Well, that's set to relative. No, that's set to relative. Welcome to live bug fixing, courtesy of the UI builder. There's something specific that I've done that has. Ah, okay. The button does have a feed. Okay, let's add a. That is definitely something I've missed. Okay. So we've already got shadow button. So shadow button. Yeah. Why not? Shadow button. There we go. Let's add that to that class list. I don't think that fixes it, but it might be the order of things that are being added or whatever. So button, add to class list, shadow button. I don't like that. But whatever. Oh, that did it. That fixed it. We solved the problem. That was it. That's all we needed to do. Yeah, there you go. So, but you know, like hopefully that kind of demonstrates actually kind of the cool thing about it is that just that one selector can have such a huge difference on the way in which an element is displayed. And I think I kind of think that's cool that you can just use these little selector elements like this. You just have to remember to save them and get this. And this is why inline styles are really dangerous, because you have these weird overrides that start happening. It's kind of the same problem when you're dealing with like prefab elements and you're like, why is this one behaving differently? It's because it's got this overridden property and you have to then go through the menu and deal with that. So, okay. So we now have our shadow button, which means let's see if the label works. Oh, it does. Look at that. Okay. Press any button. Look, we did it. We converted this individual element into a new template that we can now place in the project. That's great. Look at this. So we can then do button the second. Cool. And it looks exactly how we want it to look. We can put it in lots of places, and then if we make changes anywhere else in the game to the selectors, it will just, as Todd Howard says, it will just work. It just works. So cool. All right, that's good. I like that a lot. I really like that. That's there's pros and cons about this whole thing. So the next thing, the last thing I kind of want to do, let me check my list of what I wanted to do. Okay, well, yeah, all right. I do. How much time? We have enough time. We probably have enough time. One of the things I do want to do is like animate this logo, so that it, I don't know, when the music comes on, I kind of want it to like maybe spin, or like maybe spin, maybe it'll scale. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I think I wanted to do something. However, the real thing I wanted to look into today is the binding system. Now, I haven't touched this yet, so we're gonna learn about this live, and I don't know how this is gonna go. But previously, you had a really long-winded way, and I'd have to look at the docs for this, but it was very long-winded to bind data. This is the manual. If I can get 2022.3. Okay, so this is the current LTS way of doing things. You can only bind serialized properties, and you had to do it through although this might be editor UI. Yeah, it is editor UI. Runtime UI. There might not even be a way to like bind things in runtime UI. In the same way, you might just have to have done it, like update the element live. That's also possible. Maybe that is the way that you had to do stuff before. Honestly, it looks like that might be what you did. I don't know. If anybody has had an experience playing with that, let me know. Runtime, render UI in the game. Maybe that'll do. Yeah, maybe there isn't a way to do it in the LTS version, which like is an even bigger deal actually, because being able to set data as like this thing has changed, just update yourself to update this value, or like sync this value with this piece of data, is like an extremely valuable thing. So there is binding for runtime, but it's not available in 2022. Okay, right, yes, cool. So that's where we're at then. Okay, good. That's what I thought. So let's look at how we're supposed to do it. Is it in here? Data binding? Runtime data binding. There we go. Okay. How do they want us to do this? Create a data source asset. Okay. Create UI. Find the label to a data source. Okay. Data source path. Okay, this is all happening. I'm sure there's some shortcuts in the builder for this. Define a data source for runtime binding. Oh, so there's like an actual data source class. Interesting. Don't create property. Bindings go through the property rather than the field. This allows you to do validation, notify the changes, create property. Field, serialized field, don't create okay. I mean, so I'm going to hope that these two teams have worked together, but ideally what I would like to do, I might not do it in this video, but what I would like to do is bind this label to a a localized string value. And I downloaded the localization package yesterday. Up until now, I've been using my own localization system, which is just like an old editor window thing. This was like the first video I did on the channel, was building a localization system. None of my icons are working. That sucks. But I'm interested in using Unity's one just to see. I think that's kind of one of the things I'm trying to explore is, again, content for the channel, and it would be interesting to compare. I don't really want this to turn into a localization video though, so maybe I'll spend like 5 or 10 minutes seeing how quickly I can build out a little localization thing. So let's have a quick look at Unity's localization. I'll move this over. Localization. Yeah, so I was one big thing is packages that don't get talked about enough. So one of the things I want to do for this is actually try and experiment with some of the multiplayer features. I don't know if I'm going to have multiplayer working. I think this game is a good I think it's suitable enough for netcode for game objects because it's not a complex game in any other sense. I think the client can do a lot of the behavior management. So we'll see. So let's look at I mean, if I have to build a a middle ground for binding data for localization package, that's fine. I don't mind building little like, and I think this is one of the interesting things about Unity, right? Is that like you can just build bridges between things, and so that's fine. Pre-release version for 1.5.0. What version do I have in the project? Let's have a look. Oh, I'll give you a little preview of my mesh graph tool for next week, which is we'll probably start somewhere around there. So localization is 1.45. Okay. Do we have to go? Is it the project settings? Enable pre-release packages. Okay. Version history. Pre-release version for 1.45. How do you have to go into the registry for it to find the pre-release versions? Yeah, no, but I'm looking forward to playing around with netcode for game objects because I think it'll be interesting. Where are we? My brain is melting slightly, apparently, and I'm not L. Why am I all the way down there? Localization's right there. Okay, no, okay. You need 1.5.0 pre-2. Okay, how do we get the pre-release version filters? Update available. No. I have it set to show me the pre-release packages. So why are you not showing me the pre-release packages? Anybody know how to? You have to enable it in preference. Yeah, it is. It's enabled in project settings. But is it also in preferences? No. Maybe it doesn't work in. Well, this is not LTS. This is the 23.2. Maybe that package only shows up in 0.3? Question mark. Unity. Okay, let's try that. Install package from, because I'm fine using a pre-release package. That's fine. It'll get updated fast enough, probably. Well, that might be giving Unity a bit more credit than they deserve. Install package by name. I think that's the one we want to use, right? Oh, in the version. Oh, there's a little version thing there now. Okay. So com.unity. Thank you. Marianne for that. Clicking the plus menu package winner, yeah. Unity localization, and then what is it? 1.5 dash pre2. Don't you just love doing things in Unity? Let's see. That works. Oh, yeah, that did it. Thank you. Cool. I'm fine. Yeah, I mean, look, even if we didn't have to do it that way, we could probably build a system that works around it, and maybe we'll have to do that. This might be a risky move, but it's fine. Okay, let's look at the 1.5 documentation. Oh, they're at pre-5 now. Hold on. Oh, there you go. Look, it's there. All right. Let's add. Okay, vote in the comments. Do we actually update to pre-5 or do we stick with pre-2? I'm assuming it means you need at least pre-2, but should we get the latest? Or should we just stick with the one that we know has the feature? You can vote quickly while I have a drink. I might go grab some more coffee, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna grab some more coffee real quick. But vote, let me know. I'm back in like 2 seconds. Okay, if 2 works, don't bother. Probably a yeah, probably a good disposition, I think. That seems like it's a healthy way to go. All right, yeah, it seems like we're agreed. We might want to stick. Far I know, pre-5 has some fixes so you don't have to do some hacks to make the binding system work. Has some fixes. Oh, well, all right. Maybe. Does it? Do they say in there? I mean, pre-5 does seem to string localization, set different strings. What's new? Let's have a look. All right, let's actually do this. Add support for UI Toolkit data bindings. The main updates in this release. Localization tables has, you know, I haven't even touched the localization system. This is probably also another video I could make. So we're really learning on the fly here. Okay, it doesn't really tell you what's happening in the oh, there we go. Fixed an issue with UI XML attribute converters not being included in 2023.3. Well, we're not using 2023.3. 2023.3. And we're on pre-2. Okay, so we don't really need to update because this looks like it's 2023.3 and we are not using that. So looks like we'll stick with what we've got. Okay. I don't think there's make a video on nearly every single package. Yeah, there is. Plus 3 fixes and 5 issues. Yeah, that sounds about right. There, you know what? Honestly, I would love to. But you know, there's an aspect where like I want to make videos like this on stuff that is relevant to things I'm doing and is kind of relevant to content. Yeah, let's have a little quick conversation on just like the type of stuff that I want to make, because I've never really spoken about this on the channel, but I hope it's clear that the things that I talk about come from a place of like, I've been working on this is something I've been dealing with, and I would like to carry on, like share this knowledge. You know, it's stuff that I've struggled with maybe like a couple of months ago, and I figure out how to do, and then so I share that, and ultimately half the time I go back and watch my old videos for like, how did I do that thing? And that's kind of the place where I get a lot of this from. So it would take me a long time to go through and review some of this stuff, but also I don't really want to do topics on things that I'm not that interested in, and B, not really confident enough about that I'm or passionate about to form solid like opinions and recommendations of, because I don't think it's honest isn't the right word, but I don't think it's like true to myself. And so I really try and focus on things I'm either interested in and want to do some research on. Like this is a good example because as you can see, it's really important and crucial to the project that I'm working on. And so I think like that's where I want a lot of the nugget of the topics to come from. And I really hope that that comes across in the videos that I talk about, is that like there's always a basis of things I've been dealing with and solutions that I've come up with, and they're more on a scope of longer projects that I'm working on, because there's a lot of really, really good content out there covering all of this stuff. And you know, you can Google a lot of these and you'll get some great YouTubers, colleagues and friends and peers of mine covering these packages. And I don't really want to step on those toes unless I've either got something else to add or a unique take on that space. So like the localization system, I think would be interesting to do because I built my own one and I would like to compare and choose whether or not to recommend it. Because honestly, if Unity are providing tools for me and they're good, then cool. The only reason I build my own tools is because Unity don't half the time. So, you know, it makes for great videos, but it's not great for me because I have to sit there and make all these tools. It's also why I like the GraphView stuff, which again we'll go into next week. But yeah, so that's also why I want to explore netcode for game objects. There's a lot of really good content on there, but I hope that I can add some. And if I do a video on it, it will be like, here's this thing I've done with netcode for game objects, and I'll probably recommend like some other videos to do. One of the things I really want to do is a replay system that just captures the state of the entire game, and then you can like play back a replay. For bug testing, I think it's gonna be really interesting if I can get that working. I can send it to people and they can just send me the replay and I can see what's gone on. That's a system that I think is gonna be really interesting. I would definitely make a video on, because I think that's like, there's a take to that I can have. Anyway, right, let's get localization going. How do we do that? I assume there's a localization window. Or do you have to make a localization asset? All right, let's see. Unity, how is your documentation? Okay, we've got like, what windows have I currently got? Okay, that doesn't need to be. This is the UI builder. All right, so we're gonna stray away from the UI builder briefly, and we'll open that back up in a minute. And let's figure out a place to learn how the localization works. So does your manual actually tell me anything? Guides. Is there a get quick start guide 2020.3? All right. We install the thing, create a, it's in project settings. Okay. Checkboxes, you generate locales, and then it creates some assets for you. All right. That does sound quite good. So edit. Right, welcome to the side tangent of learning how the localization system works. Is it project settings or localization? There we go. Okay. Create. Man, scriptable objects are the best. I love how all of Unity is just built on scriptable objects, and you can also just build everything on scriptable objects. It's kind of neat. They're just like, we'll just use these two. Everything is a dot asset, just dot assets all the way down. Okay, cabs. Scriptable objects. Actually, maybe we make an actual. I'm gonna make an actual localization folder, and then localization settings dot asset. Sure. Okay. Locale generate. Available. That right. It's gonna use culture info. All right. System language. I mean, I assume for now you can just pick English and be done with it, right? Oh my god. Why? Why? Why are there so... all right. Okay. Generate locale. Let's just. Oh, all right. You now have to make that one. Oops. Counter chaos station. Let's make a new locales. Select folder. So that's where we put our. Oh, it's using addressables. All right. That's another thing I really don't know anything about yet is addressables. We haven't really dealt with them. Culture info. Formatting English. Ugh, you're in dollars. Ugh. Fair enough. I guess that's what the other versions of English defined more than anything else. Right. Okay. Cool. We now have locales. Oops. Choose a default. Okay, well that probably is the one that I just made. And then create the asset table collection. Localization tables window. Window asset management localization tables. You have to make a localization table as well? Well, that's just the window. I already forgot where it is. Where is it? Window asset management. Okay. So asset management. Localization scene control. Okay, well I want to look at that. What is that? This is fun. All right, window. I apologize. I should have learned some of this beforehand. But welcome to my process, I guess. Localization table. I will. The next week's stream will be way more focused for sure because I kind of know what I'm doing there. This one is very much like we dive in headfirst together, which I hope you like. No tables found. Please create one. All right, new table. Oh right, so you can create like a set. Wait, what's an asset table collection? String table. Okay, let's just call this. Well, I don't know. Localization table. I doubt we'll need more than one. 8. Jesus Christ. Okay. Caps. Just like as it really is scriptable objects all the way down. Okay. Cabs of chaos. Localization. Tables. There we go. All right. Now do we have an entry? We have an entry. Look at that. All right. Key. Splash underscores. Let's go underscores. Button prompt. That seems to be the way that most keys work. Okay, so press any key. Where's the any key? What does this button do? Edit table metadata. Oh, neat. Okay. All right. And so then what I assume is that when there are more locales, you can put them in there or you can export it as a CSV. Right. Okay, I see that. And then you can import that CSV back in and it will really, you just need to put like the English master in and then you can add new locales later. Yeah, all right. And it pays. You know, honestly, this table thing is not that far off from what I built myself. I had a different format and I was using number IDs, but I think string keys, especially if they're hashed, should be fine. All right. So, let's see if the localization team knows if the UI Toolkit team exists. Exactly. This is what we're doing today. So let's have a look. Just looking at comments here. I make the switch from UI GUI to UI Toolkit with my next project. That's something I have to deal with. Yeah. Okay. So we're here together. Yeah, the import export. That's exactly what I think is cool about it, and that's why I wanted to have a look at it. It seems like as you add more languages, you can just build off this list. So let's start here, and I'll dock this in case we need it for any reason. But now let's figure out how to bind this. Okay, white. Well, Let's open up the... So I guess you can just bind the object. Wait, can you? If it's that easy, that would be awesome. But it probably isn't going to be, because that's not Unity's way of doing things. So let's find out. Because if I can just bind the table and then pick the key, and it just does that, that would be really neat. Where am I? Okay, so UI title screen. Let's get binder back. Please upgrade to pre-5. All right. Well, I mean, it said that pre-2, the changes list did not say anything about... Have they just not added them into the changelog? Because it looks like... All right, if we run into an issue, we'll upgrade to pre-5. I'm not going to do it just yet, but let's go through this pain and then realize we have to upgrade. Probably. So shadow button label, right? Because I mean, part of this is also just figuring out how bindings work here anyway. So I just grab that sec. Was it the localization table? Want that? That what I want to put in there? Path. Ooh, boy. What is the path? Yeah, that's a locale. Shared data. This is part of the joy here, is figuring out what specifically we actually need to find. It's the table. Table EN. That comes with an English. Right, so table would be the key. All right, maybe we have to open the asset and have a look what's going on. EID. Ah. Ooh. Interesting. So they are using... You can't bind to the table asset directly. There's appear in a drop down when you create a... Oh, okay. I should have a look at how the binding system actually works here, because it is unclear to me. An object to use as the data source for the binding. Because it's like, if I recall, there should be a flag here to allow me to bind things, but maybe not. I haven't really tried the binding system yet for this. So, okay, all right. It seems like we need to update to pre-5. So let's do that. I will take your word for it. If you've been through this pain, I trust you. So let's do that and then see what happens there. So window package manager. It can't hurt. All right. They just clearly haven't made the notes. I do need to look at how bindings work though. I've kind of skipped over that step. So let me have a quick look on data binding. Boulder? Yeah, a lot of this is all in the... Like, one of the things you could do is write the key in. Yeah, I'm curious if you can bind it that way, or if you could... Like, a workaround could easily be to just write the key in and then have the actual binding happen in this aspect of it and fetching the value that way, potentially. It's a little bit heavy-handed, but that is another... Like, that's how... If I was doing this with my own system and I didn't want to bind directly, that is another way that I could handle that, so... There is a workaround. If we can't get this working, that's what we'll do for now, and then I'll figure out a legitimate way to do it. So that because what I would like to do is get the binding stuff in as part of a tutorial that I build. I don't want to be here forever, so. But I think I was going to do some other stuff, but I think if we can get binding working, I think we'll leave it there. Excuse me, for today. And oh no, that's not what I want. Okay, I was just looking here, and then the manuals just decided to freeze on me. So runtime. Oh, I wonder if that means like at runtime. Probably. UI, maybe it's in UI Builder. Hmm. This is classic. Like, there's nothing easily I can see in the manual here will tell me how to do these bindings inside of UI Builder. Okay, I'll do a quick Google search and figure this out. Yeah. After right click on the label. I think that's the mistake. Like, there doesn't seem to be a binding option. But we've upgraded. So maybe it's just relative to the data object. Yeah, so I can't right click here. Right click on the. All right, let's put an actual label in. I wonder if it's part of the problem. Let's just throw a label in here. Let's see. Add binding. Okay, right. Yeah, okay. So we need to figure out how to get that to appear. I thought that might be the problem because there was a step. I remember reading about this, and that was a step that was missing. So, okay, how do we get that to tell me to add a binding? So it doesn't seem like we want to go this way. That might be to like bind the entire UI element with data source, which I think is not what we want to do. So that's fine. So we need to figure out how to get binding to work on this element. And then we can bind it directly. Yeah, see, like focusable gets add binding, but label does not. So get started, define. How do we make something bindable? That's the question. The label. I wonder if we can just look at a label and see if that tell me. You're gonna let me open that. There we go. All right. I'm just curious if sometimes you can get an inkling as to what's going on and figure out when stuff is bindable or not. All right. Oh, maybe. Okay. Maybe it's a bug. What's my approach to look through docs? Oh, I really just I'm just trying to look in the right place. Let's go back. I'm currently just searching around inside of the serialized system, finding examples. System. Maybe that's it. Find. Bind to a UXML template? No. Find a custom control. There we go. Aha. Ah. I think it just needs the bindable element sub thing. Shadow button. Bindable element. Is that all it needs? Let's find out. Nope. All right. Well, we're one step there. I might have skipped ahead. Setter is cool when you need to changes. So, whoops. Create a binding with the inspector. And custom control to custom data type. Let's try that. Show us what we need to show. Oh, this is like. Problem is that they're doing all this stuff in UXML, which might be the way that you have to do it to expose it. But bind without the binding part. No, so it must be something in this custom control. I think I reckon there's probably something, there's probably some attribute or some specific thing that it has to have inside of the custom element. Like that seems, this seems like the closest to knowing how to do this. But how do you expose it in UI Builder? Let's have I'll do a quick Google search on the side here to figure out how to do that. Right, so I wonder if it's somewhere in this flow. I wonder if it's something like this is what causes it to be exposed. Public object value. I wonder if it's something like that. Because I know that they've been doing some, like a lot of this is tied to that kind of stuff. Build on object changed, set value without notifying. It did say it only worked with properties. But the label is a property. Although I cannot remember where I was when we were looking at that. Finding system implement. Yeah, this seems like specifically for scriptable objects. There's not a lot on custom controls, to be honest. But it's fine. It's untread territory, really. This is like a brand new thing. You know, I do have access to. I wonder if this is this is part of it. That it needs notify value changed or something along those lines. Although maybe it's on, you know what, maybe it's on GitHub, and I can just look at, hold on. This is probably the best thing to do here. I wonder if they have. It's not a package anymore. This is the annoying thing, is like when Unity use things in packages, when they were using packages, it was really cool because you can just look in the package and like the scripts are all there. But they moved UI Toolkit. They've moved it all out of the packages now. So I'm unsure. I'm unsure how to do it. Yeah, I don't think there is a GitHub for the toolkit. There's some code examples. Maybe we can find something in the code examples. I wonder if yeah, this is the default finding stuff for. Okay. We may not be able to do this. I may need to spend some, I don't want to spend ages trying to figure out how to do this. This just might not be something we do. I'll spend another couple of minutes having a look, but this may be something I have to do outside of my own time. Because it's kind of getting close to when I want to end the stream. It's been going for like 2 hours now, so what we'll probably do, I'll keep looking for a minute, but while I'm looking, if you guys have any questions or anything you want to ask, we'll do a little Q&A for a little bit, and before we finish, and then we'll wrap up. So you know, I might try this notify value change thing and see if that's some of the boilerplate that's needed. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and feel free. So let's look. Yeah, this is not where there's something I'm missing that needs to be in the label itself to expose it to us. And I wish I could look at the label, like the actual core label code. Is it built in as a package and it's just like an inbuilt package? No, that's like old UI. That sucks, because it would be great to see all of that stuff. Yeah, I think we've hit enough of a wall that I would have to do quite a lot of work to figure out how to get this to work. So unfortunately, that might be where we have to end things. But hey, now you have a reason to stay tuned and watch a video when that goes live and I actually finally figure this out. I don't think there's anything that I can find with... Wait, oh, I might have found something. I found a bind custom controls to data. You can create a bindable custom control derived from the base field generic base class instead of bindable element. This provides the following advantages. Implements the float field is a UI Toolkit control which inherits from base field. It's possible to create custom controls derived from implement. I know to wait. It might have just needed this interface and listen for change events. We may have found it. All right, let's try that. String? Question mark? Wait. Okay, how was that other one look? Wait, we might be in the right place here. Hold on. We may have a good... So let me get the old example back. Create a bindable custom control. Let's have a look at what that example was showing. Oh. Okay, this is just hidden. This is exactly what we need. Example field, base field. Base field string. Well, no, because it's like a full component. It's not a field. So I want the alternative version, which is what we were looking at a minute ago. Okay, back to where we were then. So data binding, serialized object, binding examples, and then bind to a custom control. How is that implemented? I notify value changed object, and then the object field register value change callback on object. That's the value, and then okay, right. So it's just got to be called value. String. Okay, we'll rename this to value. Set. This needs set value without notify. Oh, maybe this is fine, just being called label then. It just needs set value. Set value without notify value. Okay. And then in there, that's doing some stuff. All right, we can worry about this in a minute. Oh no, public string. Okay, it does need to be called value. All right, okay. So we'll do set value without notify value, and then m label will be yes. Let's just try that for now. We'll see what happens. The question is, does this get exposed? If it gets exposed, then we're good. And we figured out how to do it. We at least figured out how to expose things to the binding system. If not, then we may just leave it there. Value. Oh, okay, that doesn't do anything. So that's changed. And there's no binding option. But we're in somewhere here. I've missed something. Set value without notifying. On object. Oh, m object field register value change. Or maybe it's this that we need. Okay, let's try that. Maybe it specifically needs that element. Afterwards. Okay. Just going for it. Var previous equals this dot value. Okay. See. Set value. If value equals this is return. Okay. So if value equals this dot value, fine, then return. Man, that's weird. I don't know how I feel about that, but sure, whatever. Get m value, m label. Let's just rename this to m value. Stick around. And have a look at that. Then you got some editor stuff, but like that doesn't seem to be a big deal. If new value equals null, fine, else or new value is new value is sector ID, then update it and then set value without notify m value. Does that. Don't need to do that. Shadow label. Yeah, there's still no binding. All right. Well, there's more to it than this, clearly, and I don't want to be here forever, and I don't want to waste anyone else's time. So I think we'll have to leave it there. You know what? If I start the next stream, and if I figure it out between now and next week, we'll start the next stream next week with a little overview of how you do this, and we'll get it, and I'll show you. I'll show you how to do it. So, yeah, because we've been going for a while now, and I don't think it's that interesting to watch me hack my way through this. There's probably something strange that's specifically needed to get this to work, unfortunately. Because this callback is only specifically to update the object field inside of the element. So I don't feel like that's specifically required. So I'll go back and have a look. But yeah, that's frustrating. But this happens. I mean, that's the whole point of this stream, right? Is us figuring this out. The next one is going to be far more detailed because I know exactly, like, that's going to be closer to a tutorial because I've done that thing many times. This is very much a deep dive exploration thing instead. So, yeah. Feel free to message me if people find out, though, by all means. Let's switch over to, I think we will just have to end things here, but I will figure this out and I'll let people know. So, if you aren't in the Discord, come into the Discord because I will almost definitely report my output in the Discord channel. There's a link in the description to the Discord. And other ways you can support the channel if you want. But let's answer some questions. Feel free to keep asking. We'll spend about maybe 10 minutes or so just answering some questions. And then we'll wrap things up. So, yeah, let's do that. But hopefully this has given you enough of an overview of the UI Toolkit things, aside from the half hour of me figuring out how the localization system works. We kind of went on a big tangent here, but that's game dev, right? Like, that's what it's like. So, yeah, now we're not showing the other screen. I can bring my chat over so I'm like not looking the other direction. And I hope you've enjoyed everything so far. Let's look at some of the questions. We plan to make videos about system architecture and organization for UI Toolkit. So I did a video on assembly definitions. That's as much as I think you need from me regarding project organization. And go watch that if you want. But I will be making like an actual video on UI Toolkit, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about how I want to do that there. But yeah, that's kind of it. Any leaks for iteration time? No, I don't. No, I'm also under NDA, so I will not be saying anything that I haven't been told already. But any of the stuff coming outside of, we don't get told that much really regarding like releases and stuff that isn't already public. So, but I would not be disclosing that here. Yeah. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about this stream format. Should I do more of these in the future? I'm more than happy to do more when I'm working on you want to see the pup? Okay. Yeah, well she sometimes brings like toys and bones and things, and I really don't want her like chewing in the background and squeaking toys and stuff, but I can grab her for you. Got it. She's just been sitting on the couch. Hold on. Right, there you go. There is a dog. There she is. This is the pupper. She's just been sleeping. We'll go for a walk after this, so yeah, she's been a very good girl. And we'll take her out. I'm gonna take her out for a walk after this, so she's just kind of waiting patiently for that because it's long past her normal sort of walk lunchtime. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you think of this format and if it works. It's very different to things I normally do, but I'll keep the video up, so we'll, you know, hopefully it's here as a reference, and we'll see when I make the final UI Toolkit video. That's definitely what I want to do. Chat is saying you are very beautiful, Scarlett, so you know. Anyway, yeah, we'll do next week's stream is going to be, I may change the date. I may do it on the 27th rather than the 28th. So just stay tuned. Depending on holidays and things. I hope everyone has a good Christmas Eve and Christmas if you are celebrating that kind of thing. So you like seeing things fail. That's good. Because it's very different. Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of polish work in my normal videos because like it's it is nice to have that in that like condensed format rather than this like the investment of time to watch something like this. I understand is very specific. Yes, I'm talking about next week's graph view. Oh yeah, okay, I was going to show you a little preview. So what I have there, what we're going to do, we probably won't do this specifically, but for this project, what I have is a I've got a graph tool that let me see. I don't know if I have I had a scene that I was working on. I wonder if it's the I had like a building test scene that I was working on, and I am not sure if it's still, I must have deleted it, which is weird. Proc gen test, maybe that's it. Save the front end. Oh, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so yep, there we go. So I've built a tool using I have a procedural graph tool that I was using a while back. This is a tool that I've built called Mesh Graph. That is ultimately geometry nodes, like a really rudimentary version of geometry nodes just built for Unity. And so I've made a specific graph for me to test. This was my like biggest final test was, okay, how can I build background buildings? And I'll go into this. I'm going to do an update on the state of the project. But I was like, how can I do buildings for the background in a way that isn't going to take me, you know, years of work in Blender? And so can I build this sort of like procedural workflow that will get me most of the way there in terms of like just, you know, set dressing ultimately. And that's what this is. So I don't think I have support for double clicking that yet. No, I don't. So these are mesh graph object, and that's a create basic building. Check out. I can then open that graph. And so it's a series of nested mesh manipulation controls, right? So a really simple thing. I'll make a tool quickly. Little previews, little sneak preview. We're not going to do this. We might do this, but I don't want to have to go into like a bunch of information about procedural mesh structuring. But we can. I can show you kind of some of the things the tool can do, because I'm quite proud of it. But I wanted something that I can use to slowly build out, like, oh no, some input. Like I said, this is not this is not designed really to have anybody else look at it apart from me. It's very buggy. Can I open that now? Yes, there we go. Okay. Great. So what we can do is we can like make a cube or not. There are some bugs when you make a new one. There we go. Okay. When you make a new node. So I can make a cube, and look, it made a cube. And I can change the settings inside of the graph, and it outputs that specific thing. No material on this property. Let's just do that. Screw it. Yeah, let's have a big old box. And then I can do things. I don't know if. Okay, let's just a really simple rudimentary thing that I like doing, and this is kind of how these are built. Is let's say I want 2 cubes. I can just group those into a single material. And then I can offset this one, and as you can see, there's now 2 cubes. So like I can very quickly do things like that. And so one of the things you can do, or what I've done for this side of things, is made a thing called a point grid. This, and then we can separate the distance out, right? And then you can do like instance. It might be points mesh onto points. Maybe that might be how I did this. And then we can put like that cube onto this, and then we can output those. There we go. Right. And just like very procedural workflows for building out like complex geometry shapes. And obviously that like mesh instance could be another mesh coming from other software, but that's ultimately how I've done this. So I've created a bunch of points, and then each of those points get filtered, and I filter by like the left, the right, the up, and the down, and then I instance different types of meshes based on like the floor, etc. And that's this really complex sort of. See, my dog is now. This is why she wasn't in here, because she's now sitting there like just making noises. You can't see her; she's behind me. She's just sitting there being cute, but she's eating stuff. So. Anyway, we'll head out soon. She's kind of restless, I think. So, but yes. Anyway, so this tool is specifically that structure, right? So you can. It just is layering things on top of things and filling out the different sides and making buildings, etc., etc. So it's a structure of all these little procedural geometry rules, and then eventually we've managed to get a building. And so, like I said, the thing for me was, can I build a workflow that would allow me to, as you can, imagine, I can now just customize each of the different elements here and be like, okay, well, I want, for the sides, I want this mesh to be used, and for the front, I want this mesh to be used. And so I can create a lot of different styles of buildings now really, really quickly and really easily. And that is something that I think is going to be a key player for me not to spend 4 years making this video game and actually ship something. So yeah, the graph view workflow is exactly what that is. I mean, we can feel free to let me know how you want. I was thinking we do some kind of behavior script, because mesh graph is really good for all those kind of things too. I just chose to use it for this project, but I may in the future make another one for like AI behaviors too. I was thinking about that for this project. So let me know if you want like a behavior tree, or you want me to show how to build these little, we could do a basic version of this tool to show off the different elements. But the key thing I'm going to show next week is how you start with this, the sort of general flow and idea behind node-based architectures, and how the data management works, and then how to build a node, how to build connections, how to read those nodes, and how to flow through the graph, and then how to work with subgraphs and like data properties too, much like shader graph or anything like that. So it's going to be an in-depth look next week, which is probably what I think I have some stuff I need to do on the 28th now. It's just reminded me. So maybe on the 27th, just keep an eye on the stream schedule on YouTube. It may change to the 27th, but if not, it'll be the 27th or 28th. And that's what we'll be going into. So yeah, GraphView is really cool. A basic dialogue system. Yeah, we could do something like that as well. It's a little less, that shows off some things a little less than what I particularly think would be good for, because I think the key aspect of why mesh graph, like this graph thing works, or the GraphView works, is the difference between different types of nodes doing things and how they connect with one another. And I really want to showcase that and how you get these sort of chain links to work with one another, because it's not specifically doesn't come to mind like massively easily. So we will we'll go through some of that stuff. So yeah, that's probably it. I think we'll wrap up here. As a little preview of what to come next week, but let me know what you want to use as an example. And thank you so much for watching. This has been a strange thing, but it's been fun, and I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me for this past couple of hours as I've bumbled through. Like I said, I'll let you know in the Discord. I will post about it in the Discord if once I figure it out. I will figure it out, but I just need some more time, and I also need some lunch, so I'm going to do that too. But yeah, thank you. Have a good Christmas period if you celebrate that, and I guess I'll see you next week. If you're not subscribed, then by all means hit the subscribe button, and yeah, there's ways you can support the channel down below. If you want to become a patron and see, I've now added an ad-free tier, so I will probably upload this stream to Patreon ad-free as well, and the next one too. Future videos will all be ad-free on Patreon, so that's awesome. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks. That's it. Have a good one, everyone, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.